All right, everybody, welcome to a new episode called Fixing an APM Woofer. Well, this one's fine, other than a little mark right there. It's actually in really good shape considering these never are really in good condition. They usually have a bunch of marks and the foam's rotten and whatnot. That goes for any APMs with the square woofers, but this model specifically, the APM4, it's such a rare speaker. You never really see this woofer. Sadly, the other one I had, it was quite delaminated. This is a very thin metal membrane, and it delaminated from the glue, and I tried to fix it, and I kind of made it worse. As you can see, I pulled it there, and this whole episode's going to be attempting to rebuild this woofer, the whole skin and everything. So I'll show you what it looks like underneath right now. All right, so this is what it looks like underneath there. Very weird. It's like a metal honeycomb. You can see. And all this stuff in there is glue from the factory, and also me putting the second layer that I didn't like on there, because I've already attempted to fix this once a couple years ago and I didn't like it, so I tore it back apart. But you can see there's the factory foam and glue there, the black, and then that's the glue I used. So I've ripped it apart again, and this is what it looks like underneath. You can see it's a real APM woofer, and I brought that up in a few of my videos, so actually now's a really good time to show you. What I mean by real APM is, look at the magnet structure. It's 4 separate magnets. I'll take it out here and flip it. So as you can see, it's actually 4 separate magnets and then 1 center piston. So you can see there's 4 spiders, 4 magnets, and then a center piston with its own spider. This is what a real APM is. When I say fake APMs, it's just a normal magnet structure, not like this. This is what APM stands for, accurate pistonic motion. There's 4 pistons, and that's what it means. So there you go, a little lesson on APM and what it truly means. So basically, if you want a real APM, you want to see this, or you want to see 1 large magnet with 4 metal rods coming from each corner connecting to the front. That is also APM technology, because a lot of these ones where it's 9, 10 AVs or Sony APM whatever's on the side of your boombox and stuff, that's not real APM. That's just a normal speaker with a square woofer. Anyway, I'm going to go to the shop and I will show you what my plan is when we get there. Okay, and we're at the shop. And if you've noticed already, I've got some carbon fiber out. It's because I'm going to try and make the skin out of carbon fiber. I've never worked with it before, but here's a template I cut out that I actually made and used as the skin the first time. But I didn't like how it turned out, so I ripped it off. Obviously, it looked a lot better than this when it was on there, but bending it and ripping it off caused it to get a little damaged. But you can use it as a template, so I'm going to attempt to cut this out of carbon fiber, and then I got to figure out how to cut the holes. I've never worked with carbon fiber, so I got to do a little bit of research and probably some trial and error. So I'm going to get to that now, and I'll update you after. All right, so I got my first one cut out. It actually cuts easier than I thought. A lot of people said this is hard to cut. Maybe they're working with a thicker gauge strand or something, but not hard to cut. I had my first one frayed a bit too much, so I'm going to actually just use this as my test piece. So I'm going to brush some urethane onto the back of it and see how that works, because that's how I'm planning to get this a little bit more rigid. So I'll go for that right now. All right, I got 4 pieces cut. What I've learned so far with carbon fiber is cut it larger than you want because the edges fray. So I've cut these larger, and then I thought, okay, well, to make this not fray, it's, as a composite, usually put it like fiberglass resin or something on it, but I don't want these stiff. I want these still flexible so they move with the woofer, but I do want them tougher. So I was going to go with a urethane coating, which I did a test here on one of the pieces that's a bit too frayed. So I brushed on a urethane rubber, and it works, but it seeps through because the weave isn't tight enough, and it's just a really thick rubber, so it kind of goes on heavy and seeps through. So, I mean, it sort of worked. I'd have to somehow clean all that off. It might be a nightmare. But at home, I have a spray-on rubber coating, and it's translucent. So I'll basically do this exact same thing, but instead of brushing it on with a 2-part resin, I'll spray a rubberized coating on the back, and that should give it the rigidity I need and stop it from fraying, and also a nice surface to adhere to the woofer. So that's what I'll be doing next. This piece, as you can see, the rubber, where the rubber seeped through. So I cleaned it up a little bit just to see if I could clean it up. It dulled the finish a little bit, as you can see. That's before, that's after. But this is just my test piece, so it's no worries. But as you can see, it lays nice and flush, and it's very flexible, and it doesn't separate. It doesn't fray because of that rubber urethane coating. So when I get home, I should be able to spray some rubber on the back, and hopefully it won't seep through quite as much like it does here with the brush on. Yeah, but it, other than not being pretty and a few issues, it did do what I wanted it to. It prevents it from fraying. It also gives it strength, but it's still flexible. So that's exactly what I wanted. So yeah, we'll get home, spray the spray-on rubber, and see how that goes. If anyone's wondering, this is actually what I'm using. Believe it or not, it's Flex Seal, the transparent, that as seen on TV stuff. I always keep a can of this around because it actually comes in quite handy for a lot of situations, and it seems to be working great for this. So that's a win for Flex Seal. All right, as you can see, this is the thick stuff that I painted on at the shop, and I just sprayed a coating of the spray-on rubber on this piece here. If I lift it up here, just flip it for you guys so you can see it's still nice and glossy and didn't leak through a bunch. So I'm gonna let this cure up, maybe 20 minutes, half hour, and then spray another coat and build it up just thick enough where it's going to give it some rigidity. But I'm pretty hopeful. We'll see how it goes. So this actually works really well. It's on so much thinner. And there's the nice side. And see, same thing. Now it doesn't fray. You can tug it, fold it. It's still nice and flexible. Perfect. So I think 2 coats of that will be enough. Okay, so another thing I gotta address and figure out is these caps. So these are also very thin metal, and in order to get this off, you have to take these off, and It's not impossible, but it's not easy to get them off without ruining them. Plus they're silver, so on a carbon fiber look, I wouldn't want silver. So I'm probably gonna make my own. I'll make a mold and I'll make little round caps. I'm thinking on all of them to have a little APM logo in there. So I'll put that on top of the cap. And if I don't do it on all of them, I'll just do it on the center one. So basically I'll cut out a round, thin piece of probably ABS, the same diameter, and then I'll mount an APM badge in the center. And then I'll make a mold of that and then cast 10, and that will be what I use for the caps. So that's what I'm thinking of right now. And I'll probably start on that tomorrow. All right, so I got my square ABS cut out. Of course, the heater's gonna turn on right while I start filming and talking, great. I'm just going to take some sandpaper around the edges a bit to match the shape and the contour of the badge. And then I'll be mounting the badge to that and making a quick mold. All right, and there it is. That's the badge mounted to the plate. So now I gotta drill holes in here, mount it to there, and then build some walls around there. I'll probably just use a cup and then make a quick mold out of silicone. Then I can let that cure and start working on the woofer skin. All right, so I got the mold ready to pour. Just a quick cup mold. Just a cup with some hot glue. Vaseline the wood around there so it won't stick to the wood at all. So now I gotta go mix up my material. I'll be using a smooth-on product called Mold Star 16 Fast. It's just a fast kick 2-part silicone. So I'll get to that right now. All right, so this is a 1-to-1 by volume 2-part silicone. So very simple. Let's give it a mix. And I think this stuff kicks in about 40 minutes. So it's pretty quick stuff considering some silicones take like 16 hours plus. Got to give it a good mix. If you don't mix it properly, then you're in a world of trouble. It's going to be unkicked silicone, your mold's ruined, complete waste of time. So definitely make sure it's mixed very well. And you know it is because you'll have one coherent color, see, like that. And I meant to pour some on the table, sure. That was on purpose, right? Yeah, you guys know that. All right. So I'm just going to go spray it with the compressor, and what that does is get rid of any air bubbles on the surface, so there's no surface bubbles in the mold. And then we finish pouring. All right, and that is a very simple 2-part silicone mold, and that has our emblem in it. And while that is kicking, we'll jump on the next part, which is we got to create a foam membrane, and I'll show you what that is right now. Okay, so in the APM woofer, underneath the tin, there is a thin foam membrane. So basically it's this honeycomb pattern, a thin foam membrane, and then that metal tin face. So I need to replicate that thin foam. It's really hard to find an open cell foam that's very thin like that. So I have to make my own. So I made this little mold Basically, I just got this piece of wood, put this red tape on. What this red tape acts as is like a release agent almost. Basically, the foam won't stick to the red tape. And then I just put popsicle sticks all around with double-sided tape. You can see it's very thin. And then there's a lid with holes in it. So basically I'll pour some liquid 2-part foam in here, clamp that lid to it. Hopefully any excess foam will hopefully come out of the holes instead of bulging the wood. And we should end up with a thin foam membrane that I can cut to size and glue to the honeycomb. So we'll mix that up right now. Okay, so you can see the expanding foam is poured in there now. I'm gonna clamp the lid and hopefully it works out. Excuse the noise, the shop's loud, but you can see the expanding foam is shooting out the ports. It looks like it's working. Sure would be nice if it turns out good. Okay, so everything's working out pretty good. Here's my foam sheet. I already cut the holes out and cut it to size. So if you look here, it fits perfectly. So that will go underneath the carbon fiber. I'll glue this down to the honeycomb. And I already got my first casting out of the APM badge. Looks really cool. Worked out good. So just gotta cast some more. All right, I got the foam layer glued down. So that's mounted. I got the carbon fiber cut and I'm about to adhere it to here. I'll be using Aleene's tacky glue. I'll do a layer of that on here. And then I'll put a little bit of spray glue on the back half of this. Pop it on there. Put the little rings on and then let that cure. All right guys, it's really coming along. Casting and painting the caps, kind of giving them a black carbon look. The carbon fiber is adhered to the foam. Glue's just drying. You can see some of the glue there and stuff, but it dries clear, so any of those little white marks you won't see when it's cured. Now what I have to do is on the Sony woofers, along the edges, there's like a black kind of like gasket, like a glue. So I'm just gonna mix up some rubber and then just paint a simple little gasket along the edges. Okay guys, here it is. So this is the carbon fiber APM woofer. This is my first attempt at it and I think it did pretty good. I like the little APM dust caps. Definitely like the carbon fiber finish. Yeah, everything turned out pretty good. The foam was actually quite hard to put on as it kept curling up. So that was a bit of a nightmare last night, but it went on pretty evenly. Everything's good. Yeah, I'm quite happy with it, to be honest. And if you can see the black lines there, no, I did not do a terrible glue job and just leave a bunch of black seeping through. I'll show you here on the real woofer. Sony, as I said earlier when I was working on the episode, Sony actually has like this little gasket that's, if you see there, that runs along the foam on the outside. So that was intended. I did that on purpose to sort of match what Sony did. I'm trying to do this as true to original as I can. So yeah, now we're gonna go grab the woofer and hook it up and see how it sounds. All right guys, and that's what it looks like mounted in the woofer. I think it looks pretty sharp. Pretty happy with the result. Matches the mid-range. Ultimately, this is why I chose carbon fiber instead of like fiberglass or Kevlar, because that mid-range had a carbon color. So that's why I landed on it. So let me know what you think down below. I'm gonna hook it up and make sure it sounds all right. All right, guys, so as you can see, the woofer's installed, ready to rock. I'm gonna turn the amplifier on, do a little bass test. Nothing special for the amp right now. I'm just hooking up this Onkyo to do a test. Oh, the dogs are joining us. It's just something I grabbed quick that has over 100 watts per channel, so I'll be able to do a decent bass test with it. This is definitely not going to be the amplifier that I'm primarily using with it. I'll be using my Sony ES stack over there, the TAN77. I just didn't want to crawl back there, hook everything up for the test. So without further ado, let's do it. Alright guys, so as you can see, it is working good. Alright, now that we've done the test, I'm really happy with the results. The woofer is working really great. The excursion's good. No delamination, so driving it hard doesn't cause the carbon fiber or the foam to delaminate. And yeah, overall really satisfied with this. So I'm thinking I might build these and sell them as a kit. So let me know what you think down below. Do you like it? Would you be interested in possibly buying a kit so you could fix your broken APM woofers? Because it's a very common issue for these to get damaged and delaminate. I mean, this one's in really good shape, but even this one, a big gouge in the side. And you can see it's delaminating a bit there. Like if I put it on the right angle, you can see. It's only a matter of time before this one probably needs to get fixed as well. I mean, that being said, I'm going to tear this one apart to make it match that one. I know it's kind of sad, but I need them to match. I don't want two different ones. Plus, you know, it's starting to delaminate. There's a gouge there and the foam's rotting, so I need to put the new foam on anyway. And in the end of the day, I'm not selling these, they're mine. I know they're rare, so it's kind of a shame to tear one apart that's in decent shape. But yeah, I mean, if you guys are interested in this and you like it, let me know. I can make you a kit. Basically, the kit would include the carbon fiber plate, pre-cut, resin coated, the holes cut out for the dust caps. You'd get the foam sheet with the same thing, pre-cut, pre-done, and then 5 of the APM dust caps. So I could build you a kit if you're interested. I'll probably just do them to order, as I don't want to make a bunch if no one buys them. But yeah, if you have APM woofers with delaminating skin, big dents in them or whatnot, message me and I'll make you a kit. As far as pricing goes, we can discuss that. It's not going to be cheap. I mean, a lot of hours, and you know, these materials aren't necessarily cheap, but to buy these woofers is not cheap, and you'll never find them. I mean, the APM4 and APM77 woofers are the same woofer. They never come up, and when they do, they sell for a high price. Ask me how I know. The whole reason I custom did this woofer is because I've waited a year for one to come up. One finally came up in Japan, and I got into a 5-hour bidding war with the guy, and they went for $650 each before shipping. So yeah, that's probably in the end $1,400 for a pair of these woofers. So that being said, and they weren't even in mint condition. They had marks like this. They had some delamination issues. The foams were completely rotten. and they went for $1,400. So that's why I ended up doing this. And I think it turned out really cool, and I really like the look. The reason I went with carbon fiber is because the mid-range actually has kind of a carbon black color. So I thought it would match really good instead of Kevlar or fiberglass or other material. So yeah, off camera, I'm going to be doing this one to match. And let me know what you guys think. I really like to hear your opinion, positive or negative. You know, do you think I did a good job? Do you think it looks like shit? Do you want one? Yeah, shoot me a comment down below. And thanks for watching. And have a good one, and stay tuned for the next one.